All right.
I want to ask you a question about your characters. They're all African American. I think that the story sometimes, I have a daughter who I want her to know that story. Have you ever thought about introducing a white character? And I know why you might not, but I just think that sometimes I would like to see that my daughter feels like she can understand those kind of things too. Do you ever think about that?
So, it's a multi-pronged question. The first part of it is that we actually do have people of other races in the book. So you're not going to see like 100% black people. The second part of that is how do I say this? So we, as black people, we've been able to watch these stories where there's none of us in it.
I totally understand.
There's a way to do it. So what we've seen, because we've had it's been pretty successful, and people of every race buy our book, like with our Kickstarter, everything. So I think we're presenting it in a way where it's relatable, no matter who you are. But like I said, the first part of it, we do have the story's going to take place all over the world.
It's not just white, like you said, all races. And the thing is, it's American history. But you're right, it is also much more powerful as African American, and you don't want to lose that. So that's why I was trying to.
Yeah, I think the cool thing is there's building on what Greg said is the concept that it's odd that it's all black. Does it? I see you got 5 black characters. It is jarring to some people, and we're brainwashed as Americans for the past 50, 60 plus years.
400.
Television uniquely,
Right,
movies,
absolutely.
Comics, animation, video games. It's not just in this medium, but especially in comics. It's because it's a printed art medium. It's sequential art, so it's still not animation, it's still not television, but just to see it presented, art is very powerful. It's very, we can pull the banners up, and we've had people, just stop in their tracks and say, what is this? Is this what I think it is? And it's just the imagery pulls in, like you said, every walk of life, young, old, it doesn't matter. We've had people, history buffs, and we've had young kids alike. Kids just point at it and say, I want this. And so, but the brainwashing that 5 young, melanated characters is somehow, unique. It's just this story is not seen in our medium. We have, some other amazing creators that are doing very similar stuff that we do in terms of putting those characters in the forefront. They're the heroes and not side characters or, support characters. But I think Tuskegee Heirs is unique because of the real history attached to it, and for us to present the 5 young. These are not blood descendants. These are just new pilots. They are inheriting the legacy, as we like to say, and we're like, no, we did that on purpose because we want, young black kids to see themselves and say, I don't have to be a blood descendant to be inspired by, to actually be. See myself in a similar, role or position, powerful, working together, looking back to history to actually find out who they are.
And you also have very powerful women characters.
Absolutely.
So I need to get your books. I need to look at them. I appreciate that answer because I think that's very fair.
And just to say one more thing about it. So in Hollywood, we looked this up. There's actually this unwritten rule of 3, which means that if you have like 3 black main characters, then it's automatically considered a black book. That's cockamamie to me.
Absolutely.
But that's what we've seen forever. So usually they'll drop in maybe 1, we call that the token black. They might drop in 2, but once you start shifting the balance, then it gets marketed a whole different way. It gets, projected a whole different way. And so part of what we're doing, and it wasn't even a goal that we set out to do in the beginning, but part of what we're doing is kind of dispelling that. Like, we should be able to re-examine our personal biases and say, why do I need to have, one
Right.
character that my child can resonate with
Right.
when my child might be going to school with these
That's a
same
good
kids
point.
and listening to this music
Right.
and all these other things. So it's just part of what it is. It's a sea change, so to speak, where it's like the world is changing and we're so open to so many things,
Sure.
but we have to kind of kill some of those
Right.
things that we've been, like Marcus said,
But you
that
should be able
program
to
or
relate,
brainwash. Right.
Even if a white character's not there.
Right.
That's very fair, and I
Right.
love that
It's-
answer.
I mean, when I say like 90%, 98%, everyone, and you can look at a lot of the most popular shows on TV in the last 10, 15, 20 years, animation, live action, film. Avengers doesn't break the rule of three. It's a great movie. Love that movie. And we're talking about main characters,
Yeah,
not
we're talking
support
about,
characters.
main,
The main
not support.
cast of the Avengers movie, you have Black Panther, Falcon, and War Machine. You do not break that rule of three, and it's okay.
And they're still
Yeah.
considered support characters. Like when you look at the overall, how the movies are actually laid out, they don't have their roles aren't super prominent. They're one-liners a lot of the time. We laugh at it. Love Avengers.
Yeah.
We're doing an MCU ATL panel later. Y'all should come to it 2:30. We love, everything Avengers, but when you really look at it, Don Cheadle, who to me is an amazing actor, I would put him up against just about anybody ever. And if you watch Endgame, he's just dropping one-liners here and there. One-liner here, joke here. It's like you're not even using them effective.
Oh, yeah. Academy Award nominated, I think.
Right. I mean, even with Falcon, I thought that was me. I was like, am I breathing? Even with Falcon, it's like, he, at the end, he gets the mantle of Captain America, but how many lines did he have in the whole movie?
Right.
So, anyways, we can dwell forever.
I love that, though. Thank you so much. It's really
okay.
great.
Oh man, just to say I love the whole representation and everything of what you guys do. As much as I like to support, because it's not enough, but the artwork, the storylines, it's not just like, oh, I just support just to be supporting. Like this is good stuff. And what's next after this? Like, are we going to see some Buffalo Soldiers in there connected to history or whatnot?
You're asking in reference to what do we have planned for the storyline for the future, or next projects?
It could be in Tuskegee. I don't know, but what's next? Building on or storylines or whatnot.
Yeah.
So Tuskegee Heirs, we're trying to, it's no secret, we're trying to get some animation happening with that. That will be almost all encompassing. We'll still be able to manage the comic book stuff. I have another comic called The Search for Sadaka that's coming out hopefully in the next month. Got 4 pages left. So we're on a good target. And then Marcus has Supernatural, so we'll still be doing those. I do children's books as well, so we'll still be going with that. But right now we're knee deep trying to get this animation thing solidified. And once that gets going, maybe we'll introduce some of our other, projects that we have. We've been working together for probably as long as some of y'all have been alive. Yeah, we'll definitely be releasing some of our other stuff down the line.
Yeah, I guess to the content question side of it is, is there other pieces of history, is there other elements that are going to be incorporated into Tuskegee Heirs? The premise that we have set for Tuskegee Heirs is going to be, them traveling around the world. So we're talking about, we have a mission where they're flying over the Nazca lines. Issue 2, they go to Mexico and they see the Olmec heads. And they're the vehicle for our audience to actually, they are teenagers, and they're seeing, I guess, lesser focused on history. World War. Yeah, and it's not lesser history. It's just, you may not have saw this in your history book, And we, there's undertones, of course, as we, the writers, and he's a history major. As you live in America, you understand why you didn't see it in your history book. But we're not trying to necessarily, I guess, present it in a way to argue. It's just, look at how amazing the world is. Look at this culture that's supposed to be, this, all these terms that they put. Primitive and savage, and but it's a giant boulder that's higher than this room, that was a part of a mountain that, like 2+ miles away. How did this primitive culture bring this giant boulder and then carve it to look like, this wonderful face?
And it stays for like a couple thousand years.
Thousands of years, things like that. So we are going to incorporate history whenever we can, as often as possible. Again, our audience is in all ages. So we write it in a way where we've had adults say, I've never heard of an Olmec head. What is that? We're like, well, use Google right now, pull it up. So the kids are going to keep going. I love issue 4. We're working on that now.
Oh my God.
And there's there's like an homage where the kids are traveling. We're showing that, just in a couple of pages. But they're visiting some amazing sites. And I'm doing research, and I'm just like, I had to stop drawing, and I found a video about one of the sites, and I'm like, this changes everything visually. I gotta do this justice. So we definitely want to keep putting that in. There's American history, worldwide history, things like that coming. So, yeah.
With the process to get Tuskegee Heirs animated, did you see a lot of barriers racially with what the image is, or
so
we're getting down to business.
everything motivated by the story? Like, what are the obstacles you had to overcome for this process?
There's the typical ones, right? So the same stuff that 20 years ago we wouldn't have been able to be successful with this comic, because we would have had to ask somebody, to help us. Can you publish this, whatever? And then they would have said, "Oh, that won't sell." Right, so,
or the most, common one is, do they all have to be black?
yes, that's where I was leading to.
Yeah, that's one that's where like, the five pilots do.
Yeah.
But we got, and that's real common.
Right, and then we feel it's almost like, because we've gone into pitch meetings now, mostly everything, I'm gonna say every pitch meeting we've done has been great. It's been successful from our standpoint.
For animation.
Yeah, but then you get certain feedback. I'm trying not to say any names because maybe one day we might end up working with some of these people. But then you get feedback that's weird, like, well, the age is just not the target we're going for. Or one guy was like, no, I love this. I just wish that I could have been a part of it from the beginning. And we're like, what is that? What is that? Just say no, Just say they're all black, whatever, keep it moving. But, so we have seen that, but we already were prepared for that. Like, one of our friends, he was working at a prominent, network, and he had our stuff up on his screen, and like his boss walks by and he's like, what's this? And my friend's like explaining it, and then he's like, you think they would be okay with like changing one of the characters? One of the main characters, make them non-black? And he was like, yeah, nah, they wouldn't be okay with that. He already knows us, so he's like, nah. So you get that, but that's what life is, right? Like, there's always gonna be obstacles. We personally would rather deal with somebody that, like Marcus says it all the time, when you see it, there shouldn't be like a detailed explanation as to why this is necessary. We see it. All these conventions we go to, on the floor, 150 times a day. Easily, we see it. We see the little kids that walk up, and they're just automatically like, that's me, We see little kids come back the next day of a convention, and they don't have like formal cosplay. They just take a hat and flip it to the back and bring their water gun, and I'm him, So, like, if we have to explain it, we already know we're in in the wrong room. We have to explain the story, tell you what it's about, so it's not just, images. But if you have to actually explain why something like this is powerful and why it's necessary, and then you have to in turn explain to them why this will actually bring people after what Black Panther did, we still have to explain that, you're at the wrong room from the beginning.
Right. I think it's I don't even know. There it is. I think the cool part with our project is we self-published our own comic. We kind of bypassed that, presentation. Is this appropriate to publish? Do you think we just bypassed that. So when we show up to a pitch meeting or we're talking to an animation studio, they've confirmed time after time, wow, this looks amazing. I totally get it. So whereas a lot of creators, they don't have something in print already showing this is what we're trying to do, so they have an uphill battle of trying to verbally paint this picture, and then they still have to deal with so what color are the characters again,
right?
But with ours, I think the really cool thing is we do have multiple books, lots of art. I think one of the pitch meetings, our team had art. We didn't actually go physically. We were online, but we heard them. I guess they had art on easels and all around the room and on the table. And the overwhelming response was, well, the art is amazing, so this is great. I can totally see what you guys are trying to do. So that's never really been, the look has never been the problem. I think moving forward, though, there's this real big problem with, especially independent creators. There's a rush to say, oh my God, you said yes? Yeah, let's animate it. And they don't realize what they're actually releasing the reins to. They are literally giving another company the reins to say, well, I like the concept, but since we're paying, we're gonna change that, this, and we're gonna call it the same thing, maybe, but yeah, this is now what we think will sell.
And
yeah.
I just wanted to comment because you're there. So that option thing, when you see that online and it says such and such option, blah, blah, blah property, that almost means nothing. That means that they gave the creator a little bit of money and said, hey, we'll consider doing this down the line. It doesn't mean, when you hear options, it needs to be followed up with, they're in production. That's another thing for us. And this is not I don't think this is a racial thing or anything. This is just what Marcus said, like, where we've been around, we've seen enough people get jerked for us to really, kind of hone in on these things. We don't want you to buy our property and put it on the shelf. We want to get to work on it. So, and that's a thing that you can kind of see common. And it's not just with comic creators, it's not with Black creators, it's with everybody. You could be Robert Downey Jr. and they could option one of your stories, but it may never get made.
And if it does,
and then
it may not look anything like what you thought it was. I've talked to those creators, and he was like, after I saw the trailer they put together, he was like, I didn't want to be in the room, I didn't want to show my friends, I didn't want to talk about it. I was like, is it really that bad? He was like, Marcus, it's really that bad. He said I gave him all of these notes, he was so excited, and he got back trash. He called it trash. And I was like, really? I said, can I see it? He was like, no. I was like, oh.
We see that a lot. I remember I was watching Dave Chappelle on the Actors Studio, and he was talking about the movie Half Baked. And I loved it. I thought it was a great movie. I love Dave Chappelle. He hated it. He wrote it, him and his friend wrote it. They filmed all this stuff. And then when it came time to edit, he's like, take that out, take this out, put this in. And he hated it. And I'm like, how could you hate that movie? Then it makes me wonder, what would the real movie, how great would the real one have been, But, that's another part of it, is that we want to actually be in a place where we have say-so, where we can maintain, like, the integrity. Because we got people all over the world, man, that are, like, locked into this story, and we feel like we owe it to them. And the people that haven't seen it yet, we owe it to them to sit in the room and say, nope, 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 yes, no. You know what I'm saying? That we have to be able to do that in order to make this thing really jump off.
We have time for one more question. If you're someone who has not gotten to ask one yet, would you like to do one? What
So,
we'll do is actually, I'm going to allow 2 because
Cool.
he hasn't asked one all weekend.
Right,
So
right.
he gets one and
That's
you
very
get one.
rare.
I'll let Malik go first.
Malik, go
no,
ahead,
no,
go
no,
first.
Malik. You go first.
Well, in terms of recent developments,
Yeah, we
sorry. In the terms of recent developments, how do you feel your comic has, well, affected the animation industry or as well as the arts industry? Because there are many things that I see in your comic that has definitely changed me.
Cool. That's always humbling. That's really awesome to hear. I can say a quick answer, I guess, so we can rapid fire it, is anytime we see, if it's changed any industry, man, that's something we don't get to see right away, because no one calls us, from the industry at least. But we do get some confirmations from insiders, people that work for the industry, and that's, you gotta understand, man, we're in a bubble sometimes, even at shows.
Foxhole.
Yeah, and so when you get someone from Marvel, Disney, or wherever, come by the table and say, yeah, man, I know you guys. I've seen this. We're like, wait, who are you again? You work for what now? Disney, Marvel. And they're like, yeah, man, we love this. This is real. You know, like, hey, remember you introduced me to, and it's confirmation that, you know, this story, this art, everything is resonating. We're sending ripples. The weird thing is we are in the middle of the pond that we're in, or lake, ocean, whatever it is. So sometimes those waves take longer to come back, those ripples. But when they do, man, it's really, really touching, very humbling, and it's exciting. But at the same time, these are just people saying, hey, man, I appreciate what you do. It's not Disney saying, hey, this is Disney, I just wanted to call you.
It's a guy that works.
Right. It's, yeah, they can't, they're just saying, man, props, man, keep doing what you're doing. I would love to be in your position, but I got my hands tied. So it's really, really confirmed.
And like I've seen a few comics with little things where it's like, Marcus, they stole this off of page, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure of it, you know, but it's awesome because it's like in a Marvel comic. So it's like, that means they're checking, right? We were in San Diego Comic-Con. Larry Houston, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's like, he was the producer for the X-Men, the 90s X-Men. He did G.I. Joe. He's done, his catalog is amazing. He comes up to the table and he's like, man, I can't wait. I'm so happy. I've been waiting to get these. And then he like starts buying stuff and I'm like, aren't you Larry Houston? He's like, yes, I'm a big fan. I'm like, man, get out of here. You made my childhood what it was, you know? So that, we had a guy, the Disney guy, you know, so those are the cool parts. I think one of the biggest parts is there's a writer, a comic book writer that I've been reading for I don't know how long, and he, you know, has become a friend. And he told me, because I was like, hey, can you talk to somebody so we can talk to Marvel? And he was like, no, just do what you guys are doing. He said, I wish I could do what you guys are doing. Like, what do you mean? He was like, you guys don't have anybody telling you how to write your story. They're not telling you make your characters sound more ethnic. Any of that, you know, you guys are, and you're doing very well with it. Keep going. And I was like, I don't want to write for Marvel. But he's like, no. Like I saw him again in Chicago. I was like, we got an idea. We want to pitch to DC. Just do it yourself. Just take the whatever DC is on it, take it out, and do it yourself. I'm like, But he said that, and he's now, you know, started his own publishing company. So he still writes for the majors. But he started his own, and he's, you know, like slowly building up. But he's got a huge fan base already, and he's already seeing it. He's like, man, it's a whole different thing when I come to a comic convention with my books instead of their books, you know, because you got to pay for their books, whereas you make straight profit off of yours. So that part is the great part. Is some little guys that just had a dream, you know, being able to influence, you know, juggernauts in the game. And I'm gonna be quiet. Next question.
Last question.
So the question I have is, since you guys are getting your Tuskegee Heirs on production, will you hire minority and African American men and women, boys and girls, to voice your project?
That's an easy answer.
Ooh, no, we're gonna have like English, British thespians. Yeah, of course we are. Like, that's something that we do. Like, we don't brag about. Like, even with the comics, like everything you see on our table,
Yes.
that's not done by Marcus, because he does 90% of it. But everything else that you see done is, African American. We have a Filipino guy that partners with us on some stuff. So yeah, that's what we do. For my new comic book, my colorist is actually at a table somewhere in Artist Alley. She said it's hard to find. She said she was gonna come see me, but she's here. She's coloring my new comic book. My friend Shannon who's actually doing the pencils, African American. So that's huge for us.
Yeah.
It's not like a mandatory, but it's definitely huge for us. And when we get to announce what we're going to announce, then you'll definitely understand.
Right, because there's with the animation, huge fans of Avatar: Last Airbender. Watching behind the scenes of that really inspired the authenticity of the martial arts. Things like that. We have a wonderful black fight choreographer. Maurice Crump worked for he trained.
Ung Bak. You guys familiar with Ung Bak? His master is actually the choreographer for that movie and the writer, and so he's like super official. He trained Chadwick Boseman for Black Panther. So we've already got him, like, even though it's animation, like, hey, we need to script out these fight scenes. And he can do many styles, just like our characters do many styles. So,
and it's I guess the fairness to say is to put it out to say, well, why are you only targeting? It's not an only targeting. We know amazing, talented people in the industry that are just like us in terms of quality. They want the best quality. They have the experience. They don't have the opportunity, or they get pushed to the side for whatever reason. We know the reason, but in any case, that's the stuff where we're like, yeah, no, do you guys have any music person? Yeah, he's over there. He's this guy. He's amazing. We're just waiting to get the the green light. But it's really, that's where it is. We know these people. They've watched and traveled along with us along this ride. Little small pieces and conversations we've had with them. Those connections are not going to go away just because we get a green light for animation. And the industry guy, he's been doing. No, that's cool. But we're going to hire this guy. We know him. Right, yeah, it's coming.
we could announce
so
stuff.
much.
Appreciate
Well,
it.
well, thank you not only for your time, but for supporting such a great cause, a great community, and getting it out there. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey girls, if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, click that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell. Follow us on social media. You can reach me at Carnell Holly on Twitter, at MadDragon2000 on Instagram, and we're on iTunes. Check out our podcast called Writer's Roulette. Give it a listen, leave a review. But until then, you know where to find us.